The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi and welcome to the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast, a weekly show about all things Port Adelaide. I'm your host Macca 19, and joining me, as always, we've got co-host Fishing Rico 4. How are you, mate?
Oh, how you going, Macca? Yeah, good, mate.
Good work.
Sorry, you woke me up. I fell asleep from the GWS game and haven't woken up since.
Good call. And for his first time on the podcast this evening, we've got a new member to our Big Footy family. He's named after a Port Adelaide legend. We're speaking with Harold Oliver.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Good work.
How you going, Harold? Good to have you on, mate.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Oh, it's great to have you on. As we do with all the newbies on the podcast, let's find out about your Port supporting background, mate. How did you become a Port fan?
Look, when I was about 6, Sturt supporting schoolmate obsessed with Aussie rules, was showing me his football card collection. How exciting. But, that his enthusiasm rubbed off on me, and I went home and said to Dad, look, I'd like Sturt. And he told me in no uncertain terms that we're a Port Adelaide supporting family. And if I didn't like that, I could pack my bags and leave there and then. So fortunately, I didn't try my luck out on the streets of Tea Tree Gully. And because of his guidance, I didn't end up bitter and twisted like David Pemberthy. So,
good call.
When I started playing school football, my father took me to my first game. We walked from my grandparents' house at Rosewater to Alberton, and apparently I spent most of the game running around the scoreboard and eating pies. But what I do remember was a magnificent run and series of bounces down the wing by Michael the Flash Graham. It was just like poetry in motion. I think
Michael Graham.
Yeah, my love for the game was born then. So you can tell how old I am. We'd watch every Port reserves and league game home and away, and so supporting Port Adelaide Football Club was not just something I loved doing; it became a habit. So I'm still doing it now.
Good work.
Cool. Now, what's your favourite match?
Look, it's hard for me because there's two that really I particularly love. Firstly the '77 grand final. We broke the Port Adelaide Premiership drought. I think it was a 12-year drought or something like that. And it was the first winning grand final I ever witnessed. I was there the year before where people were on the actual boundary line sitting down watching the game. And we were the best team all year that year, but we didn't perform in the most important game. And 77 was such a brave, victory. Epitomised by people like Randall Gerlach, who, had to retire after that with kidney problems, and I think he's still got health issues now. Eckerman kicked 3 goals on one leg because Kinnear and Cale were lost to us early in the game, and Tim Evans he kicked 7 goals after being floored by Fred Phillis in the goal square before the start of the game. And for my family, the win was even sweeter because the Phillises are distant relatives of my mother's, and we never liked them. And as my mother says, they were dirty players, and worse still, they played for Glenelg.
Yeah, that's never good.
That's never good. And the other game, is the 2004 Premiership, and we all know what happened then, and it was a privilege to be there on that momentous occasion.
Absolutely. And your favourite player?
Look, that's like choosing between your children, this question, isn't it? But my favourite of my favourites has to be Gavin Wanganeen. Nice. The fact that he's a Premiership player for the Maggies and the Power, and he left Essendon and to come and play with us, shows his love for the club, just like we love our club. And I'm hoping though that Tex Wanganeen will be my favourite player in a few years' time.
Now, how are you finding Big Footy? Because you were one of the refugees, as someone put it, from TPFP. How are you finding your new home?
Yeah, fortunately you didn't turn the boats back, so I'm enjoying the new home actually, very much so. Sometimes I think I'm on it a bit too long. It took me a while to get used to it, because there's so many other threads, so many other forums, etc. All the other club stuff. I can find myself getting stuck on, sometimes even Bay 13 or even the Adelaide site, especially after a big loss like they had last week. So, but it's great. Yeah, and I love the people on it. Most of you guys are just fantastic.
Oh, it's lovely.
That's the way. Well, look, let's go into our love and hate, which is one thing we loved, one thing we hated in and around Port Adelaide this week. Rick, buddy, let's start with you, mate.
Well, I love the fact that we won, Macca. In the past, it would have been a game after an epic win where, as a club, we might have basked a little bit too much in our glory and then dropped the 4 points that we should have got, and we would have all been sitting on the forums complaining how we let that one go. So, I mean, we grounded out after an epic game against Geelong, a high-profile game where there was utopia with the crowd and the players. So we came away with the 4 points, so I was pretty happy with that.
Very good. And your hate?
Well, as you could tell, my hate, and I think I'm not alone here, I think a few other people have agreed, let's get rid of the Macca Oval debacle. It is, I mean, the weather is shocking, even for winter or coming winter. I mean, 6 degrees, and it's just deplorable. And there was no crowd there. It was just so underwhelming. I think of if that game was in Alice, and I know a poster mentioned that on one of the boards. At least you would have had a footballing following crew there of supporters that, at least would have given it something, a bit of a drive in the game. But, there was just nothing. And, I was wondering why we didn't have a running game. And then I realised our players were all frozen on the ground and, they couldn't actually move. So, yeah, it just left me very underwhelmed as a game. And I'm still underwhelmed now.
Do we need Canberra, really?
No.
I don't think so. No. I mean, it was a bit like watching a TFL game on ABC2 with 250 people there or something. It was a bit ordinary. But well, Harold, how about your love and hate, mate?
Look, my love of the week is hardly original. It's what everyone's thinking, I think. It's off-season recruiting of, those Jets, Jared Polec and Matt White. Everyone loves a blistering run. It's a great feature of our game, and both Jared and Matt have electrifying pace, and I love it when they turn on the afterburners. And, the recruit of the year, as he's called, Jared Polec's skills and traffic are just so excellent. He's so clean and creative, and Matty hasn't put a foot wrong, and I can't remember him missing a target all year. And as my daughter would say, what a ninja he is. And I really love how both...
He is a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I really love how both boys are really relaxed, calm characters off the field as well, and they're passionate about our club, and they're so team-focused. So they're just a great addition, and they enhance the closeness of our group, I reckon.
Yep, great call.
Absolutely. Excellent call. Words of wisdom there.
Yeah. Look, I know that Ford Fairlane mentioned this on Big Footy, but I was yelling at the football so loud during the game that I'm surprised the neighbours didn't complain. How hard is it really for a boundary umpire to throw the ball in a decent amount of meterage? I think there was at least 3 occasions when the field umpire had to make the boundary umpire re-throw the ball in, and they could have done it another 10 times for sure. I mean, the only physical aspect to a boundary umpire's game besides running is to throw the ball in, and they couldn't do that. It was shocking. It was a joke.
Nice. Well, my love for this week is Tommy Jonas, because it's the 3rd time in a row that he stopped the very, very dangerous Jeremy Cameron. Mm-hmm. We spoke about it in the preview that this was a matchup that I would have loved to have seen, and it happened. And what was fantastic was that he actually forced Cameron to play in defence for a half just to get a kick. I mean, which is a bit bizarre. How they moved him to I think centre half back. So good on you, Tommy Jonas. That was a fantastic game. Yeah,
he was a great player.
There's a lot of love for Tommy, isn't there? A lot of love.
Yep, without a doubt. And with fine reason as well.
Indeed.
What about your hate, Macca?
My hate has got to be the morgue-like crowd at Clare yesterday. It was just lifeless. For such a huge game, first SANFL, well really it's like a quasi sort of AFL game there. Mm-hmm. For a number of years. I think it was something like 2004 or something was the last game played in Clare. Some big names on both teams, Tex Walker, Ben Rutten, to a lesser extent maybe Johnny Butcher, Andrew Moore. And look, in all honesty, I've heard more cheering during the first half of SANFL reserves games where there's like 40 people at the ground than there was with 5,000 people there. It was just ridiculous. Just everyone's sitting down watching the game. You know, I reckon maybe 10% of people were actually clapping after goals. I don't know why you'd bother having it there again, to be honest.
The question is, though, was there more cheering at a Crows game to the reserve game?
Well, look, there was a lot of Crows fans there. It would have been sort of 65 or 70% Crows fans, for sure. So,
did they walk out for the final siren?
There was a number of them that walked out at three-quarter time, yes, which I found quite amusing.
Oh, that didn't
events
happen.
of the day before. I reckon probably 500 people walked out at three-quarter time, minimum.
That's sad.
So,
very sad. Mind you, it wasn't all Crows fans. There would have been locals. There was certainly Port people that left at three-quarter time as well. But I don't know if they thought the game as a contest would have been over. I'm not too sure, but yeah, wasn't great.
We got the power to win, power to roll, come on. Port Adelaide aggression, we are the power from Port.
All right, well, let's go on to our review of the AFL game. We played Greater Western Sydney at Macca Oval. Thank you, Tribey. It was Saturday afternoon, and we came away with a fairly lacklustre 35-point win. We won 20 goals 12, 132 to 15 goals 7, 97. Big J Schultz continued his fantastic form in front of the sticks with 6 goals. Chatty Wingard, Jared Polec, Gus Monfries and Matty White all had 3 each. As we said, mate, lacklustre effort, but we got the job done. A win's a win.
We just seem to be in second and third gear, like you said in your review, Mac, of the whole game, and just never really broke out of it.
it's so uninspiring.
You could tell from the start, it was a little bit fumbly, and you thought, well, I mean, I know it's not very good conditions there, but we just didn't look switched on from the start. And as we said, we barely got out of second gear. We did what we needed to do for sort of 10-minute periods here or there, where we piled on the goals and then sort of backed off again.
Yeah, actually, at the beginning of the game, when Palmer was lining up for the Giants' third goal, I thought, oh God, it's a slow start syndrome had returned. But then Monfries, kicked a couple, and Shawsey, and then it was the Jared Polec show, wasn't it, for a little while there?
It was. It was good to see some of the more unusual names stand up, because we had a lot of our stars down. Boak, Ebert, Westhoff, Wingard for probably 2.5 quarters, and Lobie all didn't really have very good games.
And Stewie played a blinder in that first quarter, same with Homchi.
What about Robbie Gray, though, Macca? He's just keeping on, racking them up and influencing the game week in, week out, isn't he?
Strength to strength, mate. Just having a ripper season, another 30 disposals, a goal, a couple of goal assists, and just doing it all. 14 contested possessions. Fantastic.
Yeah. I just saw your post on the Player of the Year voting so far. He's way out in front.
He's way out in front.
Justifiably so.
Well, he deserves to be too, though, because he's been such a consistent player for us this year, hasn't he? He's just every game. I think his lowest game, I reckon, might be 22 disposals. He's always there and abouts and racking up plenty of ball for us. But not only that, getting the ball in a good way and influencing us again. And I mean, 30 disposals, 14 contested possessions, 7 clearances, 5 centre clearances. Yep. I mean, that's the Robbie Gray that we were hoping for, that would step up for the club. Definitely. He seems to be free of the injury shackles now, and it's great to see the hard work for him is paying off, and now we're seeing the fruits of that hard work as well. And well done to the club for supporting him during the injury too.
Absolutely. I mean, you can make a very fair argument that he's been in our best 3 players every single game so far this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Brownlow night. With the first sort of third of this year, and see how many votes he gets.
So what did you guys, I mean, all jokes aside about the slowness or the boys being frozen out there in the middle, but what did you think of the game style? I mean, I really thought, I don't know if it was an intentional ploy, but I thought we played a really stagnant game compared to a lot of our other games, and part of me, thought, well, maybe the coaching staff are trying to play a slower game style, keep the boys fresh for following week, and whilst just doing enough. And I know they'd probably say that would never be a consideration, but to me, that's how it sort of came across. And if it is, I mean, it's probably a bit of smart player management as well, but we definitely seem to have a slower game plan.
I think we did, except for the last quarter. I mean, wasn't it Russell Ebert Handball mentioned, that GWS had 8 inside 50s in that last quarter, and they scored 6 goals, 1.
Yeah.
So, if we didn't have a defensive team structure at all, or if we did, it failed miserably in that last quarter.
So what about Lobie? Did you, I had him as the player I wanted to stand up. Obviously Mumford wasn't playing, so that was a big loss for GWS. But what did you guys think of his game on the weekend?
I think Lobie likes the challenge, doesn't he? So like up against Geelong, he really turned it on.
Yep.
I think it was a little bit quieter against GWS, and I thought Giles, probably won that battle generally, but I'd have Lobie every day of the week from what he can do.
Yeah, I think Giles certainly had the better of that duel. I think he kicked a goal as well, had 20 more hit-outs than Lobes. I don't know. He seems to struggle against old Joffa.
Yeah, you think he knows his game too well or something, Giles knows.
What's the height of Giles? Remember who threw out the stat earlier in the year about Lobie's performance against the taller rucks to the shorter rucks? Maybe
It was either Janus or Russell Ebert Handball that mentioned it. He's 201 centimetres.
Yeah. So I think wasn't a stat when it was over 201 or 203. His output really diminished.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he does struggle. He struggles against the monster ruckman a little bit.
So what are you saying about next week then?
Always in trouble.
Yeah, we'll be pushing it uphill.
He'll rise to the occasion.
I think so.
I've got faith in him.
I don't think he's come up against Sandilands since he's become sort of the first ruck. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes, especially considering Sandilands is in pretty good form.
So, do you guys think there was a bit of a play from the coaching staff to have maybe the experienced players, midfielders like Travis Boak, Brad Ebert, obviously Hamish Hartlett didn't play, but they sort of seem to have more cameo roles this week than being fully influential in the game.
I don't know. I mean, Boakey just was well tagged out of it, except for about 15 minutes there. Toby Green did a fantastic job on him. Ebert, maybe he was suffering from that huge knock that he got in the first quarter. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I reckon that knock could have been a lot worse though.
Could have. Yeah.
I think he sensed Shaw coming, and I think Shaw might have sensed it too because there seemed to be a lot of shoulder contact there. Because I tell you what, Shaw probably could have rubbed him out into next year if he wanted to hit him front on. But I mean, if he did that, Shaw probably would have got about 10 weeks as well because he was off the ground and flying. But yeah,
he could have killed him.
Yep.
So fortunately he didn't. But I think those players you mentioned, they just had down days, really.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't turn it on like they usually do. But, I suppose that opened the door for Polec and White and Gray to really shine. So you'll take that.
Now, Justin Westhoff, where do we see his game at the moment? He had such a great start to the year in the first sort of 3 or 4 rounds, as he did last year as well. And as we know, last year, his sort of round 6 through to about 12, he struggled to get into it. And it looks like the same things happened this year.
Can we actually bundle 2 players together here? Can we actually? No, well, I reckon, and I'm a harsh judge sometimes, but I reckon Chad Wingard's output's dropped off a little bit too. But I'm with you. I reckon Justin's dropped off a little bit. Chad Wingard's dropped off a little bit. And someone made a very observant post today saying Westhoff might have dropped off a little bit since Butcher's gone out of the side. Yep. Which is a fair observation. Maybe he's taken a bit more heat and structurally he's lost his roaming ability because Butcher's not there.
Yeah, he has had to play up forward a lot more, hasn't he? He hasn't gone back quite as much. Well, he didn't seem to against GWS. Well, I suppose we dominated the game and you didn't need to. But
no, it is a fair call.
You're right, Rick.
It's a good call.
Yeah, they're down on form. But, still, chiming in when we need them. Westy still did a few good things, like that tap down to Matty White.
Yep, that was fantastic.
By the behind post. And so they're still doing their stuff, they're just not dominating like the superstars we know they can be.
Well, look at Chad Wingard. I mean, 16 possessions and 3 goals, and we're saying he's down on input.
Yeah, indeed.
In just starting his 3rd year. I mean, he's just a victim of the very, very high, what's the word?
Standard.
Level that standard that he's set himself, and we know he'll get there. I don't know if it's a little bit injury but to me, it seems outside of injury, it to me just seems some of the games he seems a little bit disinterested at the moment. I don't know if he's just sort of caught up in trying to drive himself just for the big games, so to speak, and is forgetting to motivate himself for the lesser games. But I mean, that's something that comes with immaturity, and and that's not as an insult, but he is such a young fella. That hopefully in a couple more years you won't see that anymore.
Yeah, be more consistent. But I mean, his good is so bloody good. That's the thing, isn't it? I was just going to say, I didn't even know he was out there just about until he took that mark and kicked that goal in the second quarter.
Yeah. I mean, he's still kicking the goals. He's still kicking plenty of goals. It's just the quantity of ball that he's getting, which is a little bit down on his fantastic 2013. But his goals are still up there, goal assists as well. So he's certainly doing the things that we want him to do.
And it's just a little bit down. I think you're right. It's just a little bit down statistically.
Disposals a game he's down, so it's not a huge worry. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him get back to those sort of mid-20s games again.
Yeah, well, he only had 2 possessions to half time.
Yeah.
So his output to half time was, he basically had no influence on the game, and obviously he turned it around in the second half there. But I mean, I guess he's probably a victim of the team doing so well as well, and having such a broad spectrum of people performing. We're not racking up 500 disposals a game, therefore everyone's sharing 25 disposals. So I guess everyone's got their role, and that's going to vary from week to week. And so people's stats are going to go up and down with it.
Do we expect too much of Chad? Is that a fair question? Because look, he's only 20 or 21. It's only his 3rd season. He's probably copping a significantly harsher tag than he ever was last year. Everyone knows he's our most influential player. Everyone knows how damaging he can be. But I think it's actually good because it's really opening up others like Robbie Gray and Ollie Wines and Polec to run forward and kick goals that would have otherwise been left to Chad and maybe Boki last year.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
And Matty White as well.
And yep.
I think Chad's probably his own harshest critic as well. I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself. So I've got the utmost faith that he's going to bounce back, and probably next week we'll be saying what a genius he is again.
Hopefully, and hopefully it's after he's kicked his 6th goal for us to beat Freo by 6 as well.
That would be nice.
Benny Newton.
And I'll be over the moon.
Benny Newton, how did we see his debut?
Look, I'm a big fan of Scooters. Huge fan, especially I've seen a lot of his games at SNFL level over the past year or so. And look, I thought he was serviceable. He played it, as I think you put it out, Craig, Mackie, that he played a completely different role than what he would usually do at SNFL level. He didn't go in the middle that much. He's a clearance king, and so he wasn't doing that stuff. And I thought, he could have easily kicked a goal, but he did the team thing and handballed it off to, Wingard. Yep. So, he could have easily have got a goal and had 15 possessions, and we would say, that's pretty damn good. Yeah, I think what we did see is he got some great hands, really lovely hands in close. He can really, scythe through there. And what we didn't see is he can really kick a ball. Yep.
I was going to say, is this maybe the starting of the changing of the guard? I know, Macca, you're keen on Moore being a replacement for Kasisi at some stage, but is it with Kasisi? I know 2 games in a row, I thought his disposal was questionable. I can never question his work ethic as a player, but would the coaching staff maybe look at, do we look at maybe dropping Kasisi out for a little bit and keeping Newton in the game?
I would, personally, yep. I think, I know it seems a bit cliche and everyone's saying, Dom's in need of a rest, but I think he probably needs just a week or 2 off just to recharge his batteries and then come back into the side a little bit cleaner and a bit more focused. I think he's lost a bit of focus the last couple of weeks, and It's never good to see players kick the ball out of bounds on the full under no pressure, and Dom's done it about 5 times in the last 2 weeks. So maybe he's in time for a break, and if Newton takes his spot, or if Moore or Mitchell comes in and takes his spot for a couple of weeks, then good on him.
Yeah, our coaching staff seem to like to give a new player a few games in a row at least. So I think he has a chance, Benny, of staying in the team. But it's, we have got 2 pretty handy players that will be shoo-ins to come back in next week. Definitely. So, there's only 22 spots.
Very true.
Yeah. They'll definitely be coming in, and I guess we've got a few more days to reflect on who's going to be in and out, I guess. But it's a very interesting one. But yeah, to answer your question, I was happy with Newton for a first game. He's not going to get 100% midfield time in the rotations there. So, 15 disposals, good contested possessions, influence the tackles, blocking. You can't really ask for too much more than that. I think we glossed over Polec a little bit. We didn't really focus on his game too much. But I thought Polec was outstanding with his influence in the game. And Harold, you just briefly mentioned it before, where at the end of the first quarter there, he really changed the momentum for us with those couple of quick goals and really got the game moving in our direction. And I think, again, as we seem to say every week, isn't it a godsend that he wanted to leave Brisbane and he's come to us, because what he's added to our midfield rotations is just amazing.
He's a jet, really, isn't he? Elite handball and I only say left foot kicking skills. He brings so many players, his teammates into the game, and he was definitely our most consistent performer against GWS all game long. And just that second goal of his, they were all beauties, but that second one when he just hit that pack at speed. I know he fumbled a bit before he gathered the ball, but that beautiful anti-Dunstall dribble goal was just fantastic. That great speed.
Yeah, there's and what about I thought the defensive unit minus Bobby and Hartlett, and then Jonas going down, we still did all right.
Well, it probably was a little bit of a godsend, really, because I was wondering sort of pre-game who's Carlisle going to go to, because I thought we had a very good matchup for Trengove, we had a very good matchup for Jonas. Carlisle was sort of the odd one out there, and I think even if he wasn't sick, I would have done a late change.
They might have rucked Trengove a lot more, given Lobia more of a break.
Yep.
If Alapati was there. But I thought Jacko was pretty good, actually. Yeah. I thought he had no post-podcast letdown.
No, that's right. No, he did. He played well. Patton didn't really do much, so yeah, it was a good game.
He's a nice kick, Patton.
He is.
Very nice kick.
Big
for
boy.
Goal. Yeah.
Well, Lee Colbert had Trengove third best on ground.
Oh, same as me.
Oh, there you go. Oh, we're spoiling.
Sorry, man.
Well, look, good segue into the best players. Harold, let's start with you, buddy. Who was your top 5?
Well, I think everyone thinks Polec was best on ground. He really stood out. It was an outstanding game. And, this is what I wanted from him too. 3 goals as well. And they're, beautiful to watch. Lovely snaps, kicks on the run, dribble goals. No matter how he does it, it looks fantastic. Robbie Gray, whether up forward or in the middle, is such an asset to our team. So creative and elusive. And look, he's one of my all-time favourites, Robbie. When he's on, he's on. He's won a few showdowns for us, and I just love him. Trengove, he was like the sole tall general down back in Alapati's absence. And when he goes in the middle, I don't think we lose anything. He's just so competitive. So I really like him. He looks ungainly, but, I don't think he's missed a target just about this year.
No.
So kudos to him. And look, Shulsey, 6 goals over a quarter of the team's total. It's a pretty good return from a key forward, especially when you consider he was playing under duress. And I know he got some pretty easy goals, but he's still got 6 goals. And, there was that game against Torrens where Butcher was, apparently he was a bit sick before he played and the coaches made him play. And, he really didn't do much. and he could really take a leaf out of Schulz's book. I know that, Butcher's a young player, but Schulz, despite being, sick as a dog, still contributed in a huge way. And in fact, easily in the best players for me. And the other one, Matty White, 3 goals from his electrifying runs, and I just love him. I really do. I love the Port Adelaide Matty White anyway. And I've got apologies for Stuart, Corns, Jonas, and Rick's boy Pittard.
There you go.
I'll let you off this time, Harold.
Thanks, Rick.
Rick, what about you, mate? Top 5.
Yeah, top 5. One thing we forgot to talk about very quickly is 71 inside 50s to 39. So I just want to quickly bring that up. I'm sorry I'm distracting our segment here, but we pumped the ball inside 50s and kicked 5-goal threes every quarter, which is a bit unusual for a scoreline. But I thought for a flat game, we still pumped out 20 goals, 12. That's very impressive, and it's probably only us leaking the 15 goals. That was a bit of a disappointment. It probably should have been another 30 points to our margin, but I thought Jared Polec was best on ground for me. Just his extra little bit of influence, I thought that made the difference. I had Robbie Gray second, and as we said earlier, he's just racking them up. I've gone Jackson for third best on ground as well. He's my favourite player. He's just a great player.
You're kidding.
Jumped off. I've got to make up for him for steering him last week. He's a great. I do love Jackson. I mean, to be honest, I don't actually have a favourite footy player. I just love everyone that plays for Port and respect everyone that puts in for the club, and I just enjoy watching all of them play. But Jackson was a good general, and he's just growing so well as a leader. And then it's starting to become a bit pull a rabbit out of the hat sort of thing, isn't it? Ollie Wines, 28 possessions, backed up his game from a quieter week the week before, put him at 4th, and Matty White as well. I thought great game, great pickup. He was a little bit quiet in the pre-season, finding his role and not getting the possessions, but he's just really racking them up. And isn't it great watching Matt White for us and Troy Chaplin for them? It just makes me feel so good.
Karma.
It is great.
Fantastic karma. That's brilliant. But you mentioned some strange stats there just a minute ago, Rick, where we kicked 5 goals 3 every quarter. We kicked 20 goals 12 in the AFL. We also kicked 20 goals 12 in the SANFL. We won by 35 points on the 3rd of the 5th, and we won by 45 points on the 4th of the 5th. Get your head around that.
I don't know if I can. That's just bizarre.
It is bizarre. Very bizarre.
How long did it take you to work that out,
I've got to thank Don Draper for that. That's his handiwork.
Well done, Don.
On you, Donnie. Now, top 5 for me, best on ground, had to be Polec. Just an absolute star. He can't put a foot wrong at the moment. 30 touches, 3 goals. He had 9 inside 50s as well. He did it all. Very, very well deserved best on ground effort. As we know, there's been a lot of talk in the media about him being the recruit of the year, and you got to say at this point, there's no doubt about that. He's really raised his game, and really made it known why he was a top 5 draft pick in his draft year. Fantastic story. Talking about fantastic stories, Matty White, second best on ground. He's struggled for consistency for 10 years at Richmond. He comes here and just churns out fantastic performances week in, week out. Another 3 goals. Just so quick and has great judgment in where to be on the footy field. Not just at sort of stoppages, but also in finding space as well. They just had no answer for his run. I had Tommy Jonas as third best. As I said, it's his 3rd time running where he's killed Cameron. He beat him so heavily that he forced Cameron into defence. A fantastic game by TJ. Robbie Gray, 4th best, just a genuine superstar these days. Just somehow finds a way to improve every week. Heaps of the ball through the midfield and also playing that lead-up half-forward target. He'd definitely be in the Old Australian side right now if it was named this week. In my opinion, he's the best small forward in the game. And Schultze, 6 goals in a fine effort. He had a bit of a down first half, but look, he kicked 4 goals in the last quarter and just a ripping game in the end.
Yep. All good.
Can't complain with any of that.
And honourable mention to Kane Corns, who I said really needed to do a job on Treloar. and he really took him out of the game, I thought, as well.
Cheer, cheer the black and the white. Honour the Magpies day and by night. Live that loyal...
Okay, on to the SANFL review, where it was a bit of a mini showdown. Port played Adelaide at Clare Oval yesterday. Crowd was listed at over 5,000 people. There was probably about 3,500 to 4,000 there for the main game itself. Port led from the start and led all day. We won by 45 points, 20 goals 12 to 13 goals 9. We kicked the first 4 goals within 7 minutes and weren't really headed from that point on. Adelaide had a bit of a purple patch in the third quarter. Tex Walker got into it a bit, kicked 3 goals for the quarter. They closed within about 14 points, but Port steadied and kicked away again. Harold, your thoughts, mate? What did you think of the game?
Well, I liked it. I would have rather have been there, that's for sure. I thought we're really developing some serious depth, both at AFL and SANFL level, with Burn, Jones, Newton, Colquhoun, Hitchcock and Stewart out. So, and the boys that came in did a great job. But like I said, we were dominant and very efficient in the first quarter, and then it was a bit more even in the next 2, and we didn't seem to make the most of our opportunities that we had. And then in the last, I thought we took control. I thought we were by far the best team all day, and it was a good team effort, and it's always great to beat the Crows.
Absolutely. Again, we were a little bit down on the stats. The Crows had more disposals. They beat us in the hitouts and had more clearances as well, but we won the inside 50s and obviously kicked more goals than them.
That's what you have to do.
Absolutely.
You guys are so smart.
Stop it. I told you I wasn't an expert.
Look, our midfield was far too strong playing to the losing ruck. Look, the way we moved the ball from the defensive 50 into our forward line, it's just outstanding. And for me, you can really tell the impact that everyone playing together, everyone playing to the one game plan, whether it's AFL or SANFL, you can see the impact that that's really having on the playing group, because they just know where to go. They know what to do. The defensive structures, even at SANFL level, are very, very good. And they just find so much space and spread so well. We just have so many midfield options at the moment, and they're just all getting heaps of the ball.
Didn't Steve, it's Steve Summerton, isn't it? Summerton looked a bloody class above, didn't he?
He did,
in that game.
Look, he's been a really good player for a long time. And I think he's a really fine captain. He's so composed, he selects the right option, he doesn't miss the target, he can kick a goal, and he was just a perfect choice as captain.
Yep.
I really love him.
I think his last couple of years have probably been a little bit stagnant. Like he got to a level and then he sort of dropped back a little bit and has stayed there for a couple of years.
We weren't a very good team, were we?
Yeah, well that's right. And he's raised his game this year just to superstar level. He is a genuine superstar of the SANFL. He's probably leading the McGarry by some margin at the moment. He had 28 touches, he had 3 marks, a goal. He just works so hard all over the field just to find little gaps, just to find himself and win the ball, and he's just such a great user of the ball.
Yep. Is him and Gray, they look very similar in the type of players that they are.
Yeah, very, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah? Mm. He stood out to me, and I thought bloody Slattery stood out for his best game for us so far too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say though, I agree with what you're saying, Macca, about Summo being, close to McGarry medal favourite, but Mitchell's given him a run for his money, that's for sure. Definitely,
as we've seen, he's been upgraded today to the senior list at AFL level, so he might go and play against Freo. You never know, but he was fantastic again. 31 disposals, 7 marks, 6 clearances, and a goal as well. He probably had 2 or 3 goal assists in there too. I think he's really changed his game this year from what he was last year at SANFL level, where he seemed to be more of an outside player. This year, he's just doing all the grunt work in the centre square. Mm-hmm. He's right at the drop of the ball every time, and he just, as we know, he's so fit. He just spreads wide, wins plenty of the ball on the outside, and is able to deliver it well inside 50. He's doing it all at the moment.
Yeah, he's a running machine, isn't he? He's just killing it this year.
Mm.
He's been tagged and still racking up the numbers. So, yeah.
No one's able to go with him at the moment.
So what about the big Butch? Always a topic of conversation and controversy. I tuned in at the right time because I thought he did a couple of good things in the last quarter, but he also sort of lacked a bit of influence earlier on in the game as well.
Look, he kicked a goal in the first quarter. He kicked one of our opening goals, and then basically didn't get a touch for about 2 quarters, and then had a very good last quarter. So it's just the same story where he just needs to find a way to get himself involved in the game for longer periods of time. He was playing on Rutten, who's obviously a very, very good, very experienced player. But he's just got to find a way to do more. 3 kicks, 2 marks. It's just not good enough.
It's not, but at least he kicked accurately, and that makes a big difference, doesn't it? Because at least he's contributing when he does that.
I think he's kicked something like 13 goals over the last 4 weeks, so he's certainly kicking straight, which is good.
Now, he needs to do more, I agree, but it was a lot more encouraging. When he kicks straight, it makes such a big difference. And, I asked Treadray how hard it is to play on Rutten. I know Rutten's in his twilight years, but he's a damn good backman, one-on-one especially.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of players that I want to mention. First one's probably Nathan Cracker. It was his first game at SANFL level for a few years. Obviously, he's come back this year after a couple of years in the wilderness. I thought he was bloody fantastic playing in a back pocket, just so assured with the ball. And the thing that really impressed me was just how hard he attacked the ball as well.
Yeah, he was ferocious.
He looked a bit bigger too, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he's probably put on about 5 or 6 kilos from what we would have remembered him around 2010.
Yeah, so I think he could get fitter, but I like that size about him. And he had a real influence on the game, I thought. Defended beautifully and set up so many rebounding plays, and it was great to watch. I really enjoyed his game.
Yeah, ferocious is the perfect word for it, because he just didn't take a backward step. He just went full charge ahead and used the ball well. Fantastic game.
What did you think of our tall rangers?
Yeah, Benny Harron was playing on Sam Siggins, and he really ran him around quite well. He kicked 3 goals, 2 off the ground.
Striker.
Yeah,
Big Ben,
very much.
Striker Harron.
That's it. He's having a great year, and as I've said before, he can play just about every single position on the ground. And he's playing bloody well. Mitch Harvey, he was another similar to Butch, who sort of fell out of the game in the middle 2 quarters. But again, his sort of start to the game and into the game was very, very good. And he's just such a natural forward. As I've said before, he loves the big mark. He's just such a fantastic kick for goal. He kicked another 3 goals, 1. He's had a brilliant start to his SANFL career.
He's not too bad in the ruck. He's competitive at least.
Yeah.
And at times he's better than Renouf, I thought, that's for sure. Anyway.
Yes, yeah. That's true. The other one I want to talk about is Carl Amon. That was by far his best game at SANFL level today. He had 23 touches, 7 marks, kicked a great goal as well. Very, very quick, very, very slippery. My only problem with his game at the moment is he reminds me a lot of Matthew Liptak in that he's very quick, got good skills when he can get his hands on it, but his first touch of the ball is often a fumble, and it often takes him 2 or 3 grabs at the ball to pick it up off the ground. And I think if he's going to get games at AFL level, he can't afford to do that.
He's only a youngster, though, so I'll forgive him.
Yep.
Also, I find that some of his passes, he delivers a few half volleys. I mean, he's only just off the mark.
Yep.
So I think it's just little things he needs to improve on. And what was it? The coaches said that's what he needed to do in his game is, be more involved and rack up more touches, and he's done it the last 2 weeks. So I've got a lot of hope for Carl.
Absolutely.
He's got some great skills.
Definitely. The other one that's worth mentioning is Big Gus Brueggemann, the countryman. He had definitely his best game of SANFL footy. Kicked 2 goals, took 6 marks, including 4 massive contested marks at both ends of the ground. He had a bloody great game. Really ran around Sean McKernan and gave him a bath, really.
He's a better player than McKernan.
Definitely. Says a lot about Sean, I think.
Yeah, it does. But the Brueggemann is a beauty. I think with another pre-season, he could, definitely be a SNFL state player. If he performs like he did, when was it, yesterday?
Yep.
Well, that extra fitness will give him that bit more mobility and agility as well.
Yeah.
He seems to read the play well, and he gets to the drop of the ball and where he needs to be. It's just a pure fitness thing, isn't it? If they can tidy that up, you're right. He probably could get to state SANFL play. I don't know if he can maybe get to AFL, but you can only try as hard as you can, and as far as you go.
Well, you never know. I mean, you look at guys like Shane Mumford, who lost, what did he lose, like 30 kilos or something to make it at the AFL. There was the guy from Norwood Boulderstone who's done similar and is a very, very good SANFL player. So, look, I think Bruggeman's only really maybe, if he could lose another sort of 5 to 6 kilos and just sort of tone his body down a bit, he could be anything. He's a natural footballer, and that's what you like.
Oh, yeah. He knows how to play.
That's it. Now, the Irish lad, Daniel Flynn, how did we see his game?
Yeah, he was good. I liked it. He looked like he had a bit of a mandate to handball the ball more than kick the ball, from what I saw. I thought there was a few opportunities he could have kicked it long, and instead he just tried to handball it off, and that's obviously maybe a confidence thing as well. But I love his speed. I love his aggression at the contest and taking the game on. And I just really rate the guy. I think he's a very exciting prospect, and he's a big unit too.
Yeah, he's got that Dangerfield-like sort of power behind him, just pure core strength.
Yeah, but didn't someone say he's got better skills or something, or were they talking about someone else?
They did. Very cheeky.
Hey, I thought it was also, it's not Port related anymore, but I noticed a former Port player, SANFL level player now, Brad Symes, has retired.
He has?
Yeah, due to repeat concussions.
Yep.
And he's still a young guy. And, it's a bit sad for him as a player, I think, to succumb to that. But at least he's making the right decision of his health.
Yeah, that's the right decision. For sure.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, sad to hear that because he was a bloody good SANFL player. Played a lot of good AFL footy, both for Port and the Crows. Not good.
Yeah.
We're going to mention Needy. I thought he's been pretty good the last couple of weeks as well.
Needy was great. Yeah, he just needs to give the instinctive disposal, I think, a little bit more. Sometimes he tends to do a little bit too much, and I noticed that on the weekend. There's probably 3 or 4 times where he just tried to evade, 1 or 2 guys too many, and got himself into a little bit of trouble. But that was a very good game, and he's starting to put some consistent performances together over the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is what he really needs to do. So that was good. The other guy, Campbell Heath, I think it was only his second game back from injury, and he took Lewis Johnson to the cleaners. He gave him an absolute bath.
I like what you said about washing your mouth out. Any poster who wants to recruit him.
You know what? I'd rather play Paul Stewart permanently than play Lewis Johnson. I reckon Paul Stewart could do his role but add more to the team than what Lewis Johnson can do.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, look, Schulzenfest is a fan, and he does raise a very good point in that there's a number of players that have taken 2 or 3 goes to really make a big go at the AFL. You look at Matty White, you look at guys like Schulze as well. Westhoff, it took him a long time to get some consistency into his game. So you never know.
Well, we've got the coaching staff that could possibly do it, but they've had their work cut out for them, I reckon. I just want to mention Bemo because he's one of my favourites. He's not a star, but he just always gives 100%. A real typically tough Port Adelaide team player, and he's so professional, and he's got a great defensive game, and I think he's done a great job playing for the Maggies. I don't think he's an AFL player, but I really like him a lot, and I appreciate what he's doing for our team.
Reminds me a lot of Kulikowski from years ago.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder if Travis Boak has any more sisters, and do they date any other footballers from country Victoria?
Well, she's got one more. He's got one more, hasn't he? Yeah.
All right. Well, I reckon that's it for this evening.
You beauty.
Harold, thanks for coming on, mate. It's been great.
Look, it's been my pleasure, and thank you so much, guys. And I just really want to thank New Vision for sponsoring the podcast.
Oh, Harold, thank you. You just want to get back on again, don't you?
Brownie points there, mate.
Your free tax returns in the post, and I'll even throw in a new mortgage for you as well. How's that?
Well, I was hoping for the locker room tickets actually, but
Well,
do you want to mention that?
we will. Yes, there is. Well, you can take my my free ticket because I'm working, so you can have my ticket for the Freo game if you want to go. And but yes, don't forget everybody. We've still got the locker room tickets up for grabs. Everyone's supported really well, and a lot of people have tagged friends and shared it. So there's still a couple more podcasts before the Hawthorn game, which is going to be an exciting game. So when the podcast comes out, feel free, share it, comment on it, tag a friend, and just share the word, and you'll go in the draw to win 2 tickets to the Hawthorn. Yes.
Until next time, fellas.
Go to the
Thank
power.
you.
Upwards.
Come on, Maggies, and the power.
Upwards.
Up go the umbrellas. Clifford's fifth kick. Oh, a towering torpedo, but that's a massive kick.